Now, I was looking at my old models here, which, as I've said, were stored very badly and have been squashed for the most part. Masts have broken off or bent. It may be that I can sort of sort some of these out. I think I've got most of the masts still, so perhaps I can drill new holes in these. I'm going to strip them and repaint them and obviously rebase them as well. But something else that struck me was I was looking through one of the manufacturers for 1/1200th scale ships, and they had some wreck models, half sunken ships, which, you know, in a game that's going to be a feature, right? When your ship gets really damaged or sunk, you can take it off the table, or you can put a nice little wreck model. So what I'm going to do with a couple of these is see if I can convert them into wrecks. It's going to mean cutting through quite a lot of metal, and I don't know if I've got the right tools here to do it. I've got my craft knives and my Stanley knives, but we shall give it a go. So the larger Stanley knife is cutting through okay, and what I want to do is sort of cut away about half of this thickness, maybe a little more, so we have like a listing ship, and then the masts will be hanging over the side. So I'm just going to cut away as much of this as I need to. So there we go, that's 3 done. This one I've cut pretty much in half. This one has been really thinned down on one side, so that's going to be listing the port from the looks of it. And this one I haven't actually cut at all, but I'm going to build up the sea around it to make it look as though it's half sunken. So yeah, that was quite a lot of cutting actually. Probably something like a small hacksaw would be better to go through that, because that's quite a lot of carving away. That's taken a fair amount of time. But still, let's get on to making the base. So same procedure, I'm using my acrylic filler again. And of course, this time I want to build the sea up a little bit to cover the model, whereas before I'm trying to sit the model on top of it so we don't lose too much detail. Using my old sculpting tools again. So we just smooth that out first of all. And what I can do here is probably just sit the model directly in. I don't have to create a space for it on the base as such. Well, actually I will create a bit of a space because I want to get that tilt, that angle. So the back needs to be lower than the front. So I'll just make a space for the back there. Glue the ship in place. And then I can start building that up around the model. And of course I don't need to number or label this one at all, because this is just it's a generic wreck. Then I'll just use the smaller one to get in a little more detail. And there we are, that's shaping up nicely. So I'll do the same procedure for the other two. Just going to tilt that a little more if I can, just to get that real sense of ship sinking. And I might just put a little more filler on this as well, just to build this up around this edge a touch more. But that's the basic procedure for the wrecks. So there we go, 3 wrecks. One is half sunk, one is severely listing and will be sinking soon, and this one I'm going to do as a model with all the masts shot away, because of course a ship didn't necessarily have to be sunk to taken out of the battle. If it had no masts, it couldn't move. So I'm going to move on to the next stage, and then I'll sort the masts out for these and all the other ships as well, of course. Okay, so that's all the models based, all the new ones, plus a few old wrecks there. I'm not talking about myself. So I'm going to leave these to dry for a day or two. Then hopefully, if the weather's nice over the weekend, I will undercoat these, both the ships and the masts. Of course, I'm going to be spraying for that, so I need to be doing that outside. And to do that, I need some nice weather. So, fingers crossed for the weekend. Well, the weather gods were listening. We've got a nice sunny day. I'm undercover anyway, so that's not so bad. But the more important thing is it's very still. It's not at all windy. And of course, if you're spraying outside, you don't want everything blowing around. I also found last time I sprayed outside was a couple of months back, and we had a lot of flies, like little maybugs and all that around at the time. So a lot of those were getting stuck, which is great for Cthulhu models. You've got a huge fly thing stuck on the side, but not so good if it's a tank or something like that. Anyway, perfect conditions. And something else I use when I'm spraying is, are they called Lazy Susans, these? I'm not sure. I don't want to disparage any Susans out there. I think that's what they're called, and obviously they're used for cakes and cake decoration and that sort of stuff. But I find these great for spraying because I can put my models on here. Well, I put a bit of newspaper on the top first just to protect it, and then I can rotate that so I don't have to touch the model in order to turn it around. I don't have to be moving around the table. I can just spin that and I can get an even coat all round. So let's get the ships laid out. So lovely, I've managed to get all the ships on that base. That means I can do the whole lot in one go. I don't have to leave some to dry and then come back and do the rest. Now the paint I'm using, I decided I'm going to undercoat in black, because the ship's hull is going to be largely black, obviously with the yellow or red or white sort of stripes along the side. But I thought black then makes it easier to really just do the highlights of the ship or the other colours where I need to, and the bulk of it is in black anyway. And I'm using spray paint, Paint Factory Colour It, quick drying paint, matte finish. Again, this sort of should work on wood, metal, plastic, anything, so we know that it's safe to use for the materials that we've got there. So let's give this a shake. So I'll just do a quick test. Yep, that's all fine. So here we go. And rotate 90 degrees. And again. And one more. So there we go. I just have a quick check round. Looks like everything is covered there. This is also going to cover the sides of the base, so it will strengthen those a little. There's a little bit there on the side. I just want to go over again. Just make sure we've got all those edges. And there we go. So I can leave those to dry for probably 15 minutes or so. Then we'll come back and do the masts. Now the masts present a little bit of a problem, because obviously I need to keep track of which masts go with which ship. My ships, as you remember, have the name on the base, so I can check those easy. So what I'm doing is I'm laying each set of masts out in these rows, and I'm keeping the little information sheet in the container right next to them. So I'll spray these, then as soon as they're dry I can put them back in the relevant box, so that way I don't get confused as to which mast set goes with which ship. And I'm going to go white undercoat with these because the sails are mostly white, so that makes sense. And again, just something I picked up off of eBay. This is High Coat Matte White Primer, so it should be working fine with these. So I'll get the rest of these laid out and we'll have a good shake and then we'll start spraying. Now, because I don't want to lose which mask goes in which box, I'm not going to rotate this time. I'm just going to move around and go from a different angle though. And then I'm just going to let those dry for a little bit and then I'll switch them over, spray the other sides, wait for them to dry again, put them back in the containers, and then I'll finish with the other sets. So there we go, that's all our masts done front and back. And there's all the ships and bases done as well. So as you can see, these are now ready to be a Black Sea fleet. On that note, thanks very much for watching. Join me next time when I'm going to start on the actual painting.